What's it going to take to get to the next step of the government's reopening plan? The answer is more vaccinations. First doses are lagging at the same time that second doses are soaring. But to complete all three steps, first doses in arms are what the government has tied its plan to. For more, political affairs reporter Adam Hunter joins me now. Adam, what has the vaccination plan rollout look like so far?
Well, as you mentioned, Sam, over the past week or two, second doses, once they became eligible to a larger portion of the population, have really exploded in the province. To give people an idea, about 2 days ago, we had 16,000 doses. 13,000 of those approximately were second doses. And the majority of the first doses that are going in arms right now are with younger people. The school vaccination plan is going across the province right now, and that's where a lot of those first doses are coming from. So people that have been eligible for a long time for first doses, people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, that has really slowed down considerably over the last 2 weeks as the province is really focused on second doses. But as you mentioned, first doses are the key. First doses are what the government's tied its plan to. Everything for reopening revolves around a certain percentage, 70% of those 12 and over, to get those first doses in order for large gathering restrictions to be removed and the mask mandate to be removed. And that target date, the earliest possible time that could happen was July 11th. That's 3 weeks after step 2, June 20th. But on our current pace, it looks like we may miss that. That'll be pushed back by a couple of days. Now, the first stage of step 3, I know it's confusing, is 70% of 18 and over vaccinated. We are getting closer to that. It's creeping closer to that. That could happen within the next few days or within a week. But to get to that 70% of 12 plus, there's going to be a little push needed to get that increase, Sam.
So what's the government said about incentives? Because there's been a lot of conversations in other provinces about that.
Yeah, we've seen that most notably in the U.S., where there have been lotteries, a lot of things like, even exchange a beer or a shot for a shot. We've seen that in a few states, tickets to sporting events. That hasn't been something that the province has entertained thus far. The health minister saying this week that the best incentive is your own personal health, the health of your community, and then getting life back to normal with that certain percentage of people being protected with the first dose and then eventually a second dose. But right now, they're not entertaining incentives. But we see next door in Manitoba, they've come up with several different ideas, almost $2 million in money and scholarship, also money for grants for different community organizations and businesses to try and spur certain communities that may be under-vaccinated or hesitant to get vaccinated. And Manitoba has very similar demographics to Saskatchewan, very similar population, and really giving out the vaccine at a similar rate. And that is something Manitoba's doing that Saskatchewan's not doing. But of course, the big difference in Manitoba and Saskatchewan right now is hospitalizations and cases. Both provinces have them going down, but right now Manitoba is one of the hardest hit places in all of North America as far as hospitalizations and cases per capita, even though the numbers are going down there.
Yes, Adam, we even saw that with some ICU patients being transferred into Saskatchewan because Manitoba was struggling so much with that. That said, what impact are vaccinations in Saskatchewan having on our cases and our hospitalizations?
Yeah, we got some really useful data on that this week, Sam, from Dr. Saqib Shahab and provincial health officials that showed that in the month of May, 92% of those who had positive COVID-19 cases were either not vaccinated or didn't have that 3-week protection you get after receiving your first dose. And then when you look at hospitalizations, the numbers were a little bit lower than that, but similar, 80%, in the ballpark of 80% of those who were hospitalized were not vaccinated, or then again, not having that 3-week protection. The province health officials reminding people that the first dose is important, but that second dose is crucial when we think about variants that are popping up in other parts of the world that have a higher rate of, let's say, second doses, the UK being one example. So really putting that pressure on that second dose once people get that first dose. But as we mentioned off the top, the first dose is really key to getting more people vaccinated across the province. And the last thing I'll mention is it's Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, but Saskatchewan's the #1 province as far as the percent of young people who are ineligible for a vaccination. That's under 12 years old. So The totals in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, when it comes to percent of the overall population, will look lower. And that just means that more people in the older age groups need to get vaccinated to protect the larger population. Sam?
All right, thanks for this, Adam.